People don't resist change, they resist being changed. Peter Senge. Welcome to the Guyana Dialogue. I'm your hostess, Shamiza Ali. Good evening to everyone joining us on Facebook and YouTube. I hope everyone is having a productive week so far. Tonight, our discussion will be Guyana's vision for modern transportation network, including airports. The Guyana Dialogue is being sponsored by a coordinating council of Guyanese based in the US, the UK, Canada, Guyana, and the Caribbean. Funding support is by well-known philanthropist Dave Narain from Dave West Indian Imports. Joining me tonight are Dr. Tara. Welcome to the show, Dr. Tara.
Thank you very much.
And my other moderator for tonight is Professor Muniram Budu. Welcome.
Hello, Samiza. Good to see you.
Welcome, Professor Budu. It's a pleasure to have both of you gentlemen here this evening. He has been ordained a bishop and head of congregation. He is the former chairman of Ethnic Relations Commission and former junior minister of finance. He was appointed senior Minister of Public Works in August 2020 and served his country with pride and dignity. Please welcome the Honorable Bishop Juan Edghill. Welcome to the show.
Good evening to you.
Good evening. Pleasure having you here this evening.
So glad to join you here from Guyana.
Dr. Tara, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bishop Juan Edghill. We want to thank you very much for taking time off your busy schedule to be on this program. As the host just said, one of our main ideas of this program is to arrive at reliable, evidence-based and facts-based information. Too often, especially in the diaspora, we are being fed with a litany of false and misleading statements. And we feel it's very important to talk to the policymakers themselves who are responsible for policy, program implementation, etc., to have them on this platform to explain, to give us what's really happened, to give us the real situation. So we are very happy to have you here. And I'm going to start off. I just want to say a few things too. Minister Edghill has very vast experience. You know, he was the head of the Guyana Council of Churches, well, you did say the Ethnic Relations Commission. He's a commissioner of oaths, affidavits, and he's a certified marriage officer. So he wears many hats, and he has been an active social intervention in that he's a certified clinic and social counselor as well, in addition to having a doctorate in divinity. So he comes with a bundle of experience and qualification to this post. Bishop, I'm not going to ask any question, but I want you to lead up to tell us your vision, what you met at the Ministry of Public Works when you came into there 2020, what you met, what was the state of our roads, our airport, bridges, etc., sea defense, and what you have done beyond that based on the vision that your party have carved out for Guyana's development. So please proceed.
Dr. Tara and others and all of our viewers, I want to begin by, first of all, thanking you for the opportunity to be able to share this platform, to be able to articulate for the benefit of a wider audience the programs, policies, and projects that are being undertaken by the People's Progressive Party civic government being led by President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali. And secondly, I want to thank the people of Guyana for the opportunity that I've been given to be able to serve as one of their leaders and a member of cabinet and more particularly as the team leader here at the Ministry of Public Works. This would not have been possible had the people of Guyana elected us and allowed us to be able to serve in this capacity. And every day when we come to our desk, we reach out to people in the streets or attend meetings or have community engagements. There's one thing in mind, serving the people to ensure that they get what they deserve. And I want to take this opportunity to say thanks to the people of Guyana for that. The challenge of our administration is that when we came to office in August of 2020, we met what was called a development deficit. And that is a term that I have put together. And I want to explain in a few words what I meant by a development deficit. So we came to office telling the people of Guyana that we will build a new bridge, for example, a new bridge across the Demerara River, a 4-lane high-span bridge, which is a project that we listed in our manifesto. We told the people of Guyana, elect us, we will do this. That project is well on the way. You know, a contract has been signed and the rest of it. But while we're getting ready to build that bridge, the old bridge that existed was so badly neglected that it was in such a state of disrepair that while you're trying to mobilize funds to build a new bridge, you have to expend billions of dollars to rehabilitate, make serviceable, and keep in some semblance of being serviceable the old bridge. We told the people of Guyana, we will bring in modern ferries, and the people of Region 1 would be able to have a faster boat with greater amenities and capacity for storage of their goods and crops. When we came to government, while we are mobilizing to get that new ferry in place, the development deficit existed where the old ferries that were there were so badly neglected, we had to go and start spending tens of millions of dollars to put them into dry dock, to repair, to get them, keep them serviceable, and to keep them going. So there was no maintenance, proper maintenance that was done. So we told the people of Guyana, we're going to modernize the road network and infrastructure. We're going to build new highways. We're going to cut travel time. We're going to make the ease of doing business more obvious. We're going to open up new lands for agriculture and housing and agro-processing, and to allow for light manufacturing and industrialization. And while we are going ahead to do that, we have to fix almost each and every community road in each and every village, in every local authority area in Guyana because of that development deficit. Nothing practically happened in Guyana in that period of the APNU AFC. So we told the people of Guyana, we're going to improve infrastructure, we're going to build more resilient infrastructure, we're going to modernize the country, we're going to put in the bridges. So while we're seeking to do that, the community bridges, the footpaths, the local bridges to give access over the canals and the drains are in such a state of disrepair, we have to go and fix that because of the development deficit. But those are the practical things. But then when you also came to the ministry, you discovered that it was a policy of ad hocism and knee-jerkism that was taking place. There was no clear plan or programs or policies to guide Guyana into a modern society. So we've had to take from our manifesto, which is things that we told the people of Guyana we will do should you elect us, and at the same time put a framework to show how we will roll out immediate, midterm, long term to improve the modern infrastructure of Guyana. So we've got to connect the what is called the Guyana Shield, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, and Brazil. So we had to put in place the project for the Quarantine River Bridge to get traffic across from Guyana and Suriname. When you get into Guyana, we have to get the road from Linden all the way to Lethem fixed so someone could move from French Guyana into Suriname, into Guyana, into Brazil, and practically moving from one end of Brazil to the other end of Brazil and connecting with all of South America. Currently being undertaken are the studies, and we're going out for a private-public partnership for the building of the Quarantine River crossing. The consultancy firm is doing the studies and putting together the bidding document to facilitate that. We already have the contract signed for the Linden to Mabura Hill Road. That's $190 million US, and the government of Guyana funding 32 bridges from Kurupukari all the way into Lethem. Of course, those of you listening will know that we already have the Takatu Bridge, which was built by the government of Brazil, that joins Guyana and Brazil at Lethem. So that road network is continuing to move us across what is called the Guyana Shield. Secondly, we have indicated that Guyana must be a hub of air transport that links the Caribbean and South America. That was always our vision. We went and we signed a contract in 2011 for the modernization of the Chedijagan International Airport. When we came to government, and of course we were criticizing it while we were in office, they had changed the contract. Rather than having new terminal buildings, we had a renovated terminal. Rather than having 8 air bridges, we ended up having 4. And the footprint of the airport was reduced. When we got into office in August of 2020, what did we do? We said to China Harbor, the same contractor that was engaged, we're not accepting what you have agreed with the APNU AFC to do. We have to have an airport that could accommodate Code D, Code E type aircraft. Those are big jets that carry 350 plus passengers, wide bodies to carry containers in the belly to improve with our agro products into other parts of the world, in the economy of scales to bring down the cost of transportation. For Guyana to be that hub of destination where people must be able to fly into Guyana, then we could distribute them to the Caribbean and other parts of South America. So we were able to renegotiate with the contractor, China Harbor, and as of the 30th of June 2022, we now have the accommodation built at the cost of the contractor. Built at the cost of the contractor. That's important to know. Built at the cost of the contractor, 2 additional corridors, expanding the footprint of the airport to accommodate Type D and Type E aircraft. The air bridges to link those corridors have arrived in Guyana today. Very soon you'll be seeing the photographs of them getting to location and hooking up. So very soon we could get the wide body, Code D, Code E type aircraft landing in Guyana. We already have the extended runway. So Guyana could be that hub of linking the Caribbean with South America. The dream is that we must be able to get the long hauls in. We must have the flights from Amsterdam and London and Paris coming to Guyana. And from Guyana, we could distribute them either to the Caribbean islands or to South America. And we
Okay. I just want to interrupt you a bit here. The Linden to Mabura Road, I believe that contract was awarded to the Brazilians.
Yes.
Can you say if that contract has begun? Have they started work yet on that?
The date was signed, work begun. But for Guyanese and for some of us, the only time we say work begun is when we see an excavator moving soil or a truck delivering sand. The surveys, the levels, the testing, and all of that is taking place right now. So work is ongoing. I'm not sure that you heard me, Dr. Tara.
Well, Minister Edghill, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you,
All
Professor.
right. Well, let me continue then. In developed countries, modern transportation network means interconnected, multimodal transportation, autonomous vehicles, integration with ICT, and the like. In Guyana context, what modern transportation means?
Modern transportation means modernizing Guyana.
Hmm.
I made that statement in Parliament during the 2022 budget debate. You cannot eat roads, but roads make you eat. For Guyana, because we're a developing country, in order for us to be able to open up new lands, to make the 50,000 families that we want to be able to put in their new homes by 2025 available, we have to be able to put in the infrastructure network to open up those lands so that people could be able to build their homes, or when they're finished building their homes, they have access. Once you build homes and you spread the population out, you have to be able to put in place economic centers to create employment, whether they're called centers, agro-processing plants, whether they are facilities for training and development, or spreading out in the oil and gas sector, or new centers for tourism. All of that is interlinked with us getting a proper transport network. Guyana's brand of tourism is ecotourism. We have given incentives and we have created that environment for eco lodges and for tourists to get in and experience the vastness and the beauty of Guyana. We have to be able to put in place the airstrips, so those planes to land, so the tourists could go into the interior. We have to be able to get a road network so that the buses and the 4x4 vehicles could travel from one location to the next location. We have to be able to put in place the information communication technology platforms to ensure adequate communication, electricity. We have to get water, potable water into those communities. So once you create a road network in a developing environment, you are creating the possibility for accelerated development. In Guyana right now, there are about 8 hotels that are actively under construction. Those hotels are being built in areas where new road networks are going in place, new 4-lane highways. We are linking the Ogle International Airport with the Tamiri International Airport, which will give you direct access to Silicon City, which President Irfan Ali have been talking about. Hotels along that new 4-lane road is under active consideration and construction. We're putting in a new hotel, Marriott, at the Tamiri International Hotel. So once you build new roads, we are going to be putting in a 4-lane road from the new Demerara Harbor Bridge, which will terminate at Schooner, and carry it all the way into Parika, opening up new lands at the back there for agriculture, light manufacturing, housing. That will create new centers of development, shopping malls, schools, hospitals. Now, this is the kind of development that is taking place. When we go to the hinterland, we have developed the Lethem Aerodrome. We want to make that into a regional hub. We have to do further work in terms of Madhya in Region 8 to make that into a regional hub. We are talking about creating a new airport, municipal airport in the Quarantine, in the Berbice area, to combine with the Palmyra development that is coming out of there. We're putting in the deep water harbor at the Berbice area. The deep water harbor would be integrally linked, not just to the oil and gas industry, but in terms of our whole road network to get goods into northern Brazil and then into South America that is so landlocked. So you service your manufacturing sector and your agricultural sector in the South American region through our deep water harbor with a road network that comes from Berbice all the way into Letem and then over into Brazil, and that can be done between 12 and 14 hours, as compared to going through the sea, which takes 7 days, going through the Amazonia. Quite recently, we spoke to a Surinamese business person. They import beef from Brazil to Suriname. It takes them 55 days. 55 days to move beef from Brazil to Suriname. What we're doing in Guyana is going to get that same beef in 18 hours into Suriname with the kind of transportation network that we are putting in. Of course, one of the things that we are examining and we're looking at very keenly, one is railway. Because if we can get a railroad or a railway moving from Linden all the way into Letem and possibly into Brazil, we'll be able to move cargo, containerized cargo at a much greater volume, and we'll be able to bring down the cost of moving and make us very competitive for the deep water harbor. Then we also have to look at what you might want to call trams as we develop Georgetown, as we develop other road networks and there's traffic congestion. We have to study how we could get trams, mass transit in the city and in the developing cities to be able to move people around. It will be for both tourists, local businesses, as well as to be able to move goods and supplies in a greater way. So there's a studied approach. There are some things that are being done immediately. And what is being done immediately is an improvement on all of our major road networks. So from Palmyra to Molson Creek is being upgraded. We're out a bid for that. Soesdijk to Linden is being upgraded. Grove to Tamiri is being upgraded. New highways now that are being built. Ogle to Eccles in the first place, and then continue on to Diamond into Tamiri. Schoonard to Parika all the way into Goshen or Makaura, heading into Region 7. Sand Hills, which is moving from Tamiri into Bartica, linking Region 4 with Region 7. These are all new highways. And then we have a major agricultural farm to market road that is opening up tens of thousands of acres of land, linking the Quarantine Highway with the Kanji Creek at number 58 Village. I'm not sure you in the diaspora are aware that that project is ongoing. We are linking the Quarantine coast with the Kanji Creek, going all the way down to the Kanji Creek. And there are lots of possibilities that sometime we'll put a bridge across the Kanji Creek and be able to open more lands beyond the Kanji Creek. So the interior network, the hinterland network is being improved. We have issued contracts to all the villages in Region 8 so that they could build the roads to connect each other. There are contracts that are being executed to link Region 8 and Region 9. It's from what you call Karasabai to Yarangparo to Monkey Mountain. And we're linking Region 8 and Region 9. We're improving what is happening in Regions 1, Regions 8, improving the network in all of the areas. And that is key. And expanding so we could be able to go into new areas. So
okay, I just need to clarify two things from you. You said in Linden to Soesdijk Highway, you're working on that, but my understanding is funds have not yet been approved because you're trying to get funds from one of the Arab countries for that project.
The ISDB, the Islamic Development Bank, to be correct.
Yeah, you haven't gotten the funds for that project yet.
The project design and the project team have visited Guyana. We are well advanced into that. We should get decisions.
Okay. Now, the Demerara Harbor Bridge, you said when you took office it was in a bad state. Well, the bridge was only built to last 25 years, and it completed 25 years. So one would reasonably expect it to be in bad condition. So I wouldn't necessarily think that was a criticism of the past government.
But the criticism was a bridge was built for 25 years, but any of the engineers will tell you with adequate maintenance and rehabilitation, we have gone way beyond 25 years because of the maintenance project that was there. Now, what we've had to do, and this is going to be it's a major issue, we've had to rebuild the entire span 9. It was so badly broken. The entire span 9 have to be removed and replaced. We've had to build span 9 off site, and at some time we will have to be able to have a closure that will last for a couple of days or so we could take out the old span 9 and put in the new span 9. That is a project that is close to about $1.6 billion. That was what we had to face immediately when we came into office. And that was what had to be built off. But on the bridge of itself, while traffic is flowing, every day we have to be doing maintenance that should have been done 3, 4, 5 years before now. Because when you allow one thing to break and the damage is this small, as the traffic continues to flow, it becomes bigger and bigger, and then you can't pass. So that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. And the other thing is, I've read a report where passengers were complaining that this in relation to Trinidad, when they pass through Piarco, that they have to spend so much time in the airport to get clearance that the time they spent there is probably longer than the actual visit to the flight. Do you see that a similar type of problem occurring in Guyana at the airport?
No. President Ali has made it very clear, and I could represent him here tonight on this show. No matter how prosperous Guyana gets, one of the things that will always remain is humble. And I say that with all sincerity, we remain humble. And our humility is often directed and informed by what we suffered as a people. Our humility is often projected by the lessons we learned while we struggled as a people. What happened at Trinidad was unnecessary. This is not just about security and concerns about trafficking and all the rest of it. What happened one time, or I said at a particular season in Barbados, which no longer exists, wasn't just about security. It's about how people perceived Guyanese and how we were treated as Guyanese. Thank God that has changed significantly. And our commitment to all the people of the CARICOM, and you would have seen President Ali's been leading the charge in it. We have not sought to play the do-for-do game with our Caribbean brothers and sisters. As a matter of fact, he has made it very clear. Guyana's success is success to the Caribbean. Guyana's prosperity is prosperity for the Caribbean. And we are treating our Caribbean brothers and sisters and all travelers coming to Guyana with dignity. We uphold the Guyanese pride and the Guyanese hospitality. And that is why we're putting in place the systems to ensure that when people land at the Timeri International Airport, they can be able to be processed quickly. Those who are in transit to other destinations must be able to have all of the facilities. That is why one of the things that we agreed with China Harbor that they had to build at their cost was what is called a superstructure, that we are putting in about 20 concessions, food, recreation, so that even if you're in transit, while you're in the airport, you could get all of the amenities to get your next flight. We are putting in place the escalators, the elevators, the systems to ensure the quicker movement of baggage, to ensure those who are differently able or challenged, they can be able to get their access readily and speedily. So it's a well thought out program, and I will say the desire and the intent of this government is to make sure that every person who lands and visits Guyana, they want to come back and they bring others with them. Your travel experience to Guyana is going to be one that is unique because we have had our difficulties around the world. Owning a Guyanese passport in times past was a difficulty. Now with pride, we could hold our Guyanese passport and enter any country. As a matter of fact, around the world, Guyana is a front seat on the stage now. Guyana is a front seat on the stage. And that's the national pride that we carry.
All right, thank you. I have a last question before I pass you on to Professor Boodoo. Drainage, keeping out the sea from Guyana, given that the coastal belt is below the sea level and there has been regular flooding. As a matter of fact, I watched a program a few days ago where one of the expert panelists was saying that within 30 years, the whole coastal belt might be overrun by water and people cannot live there anymore. Now, what can you tell us? What developments the government is trying to forestall that? And if there is any move to recite the capital at some later date, probably 30, 40 years from now? Is there any thinking?
We're not even 30, 40 years. We're talking about a new city, Silica City, that is going to be on the Linden-Soos-Dyke Highway. President Ali has been leading that charge. He is a qualified urban planner, and he has come to the presidency with that expertise, and he is carrying the challenge in that regard. But let me just say, we built the Hope Canal, which is what has saved the entire East Coast and Georgetown from being submerged in floodwater since the 2005 experience. Some people have, when we were building the Hope Canal, criticized it. But with all the rainfall and the flooding that we would have had in Guyana in the recent years, the East Coast and Georgetown had an inch or two of water that is drained within 12 hours. We've never had those big floods because of the Hope Canal. We are making interventions of that similar nature in Regions 3, Regions 5, and Region 6. And that's where our agricultural as well as homesteads and households are located, and that is to ensure adequate flood control. In terms of sea and river defenses, billions of dollars since 2020 have been expended to shore up our sea as well as our river defenses. And Dr. Tara, may I say to you that our approach is not just reacting to breaches, but we have reintroduced, and this is what should bring comfort to a lot of people. We have reintroduced what used to be before when we were in government, the rangers, the local people to walk the sea dam and the river dam, to be able to get an understanding of the movement, so we'll be able to make interventions before it is breached. And that is why over the last 2 years, you haven't been hearing about major breaches and floods and the rest of it, because we are proactive and not just merely being reactive. So our sea and river defense program, which falls under my leadership here at the ministry, is one that is aggressive. We have some of the finest people manning that department. We're using drone technology, as well as we are using local input of the rangers, patrolling to be able to find where there is movement, to be able to address it. And we know this is something that has to be ongoing because of how vulnerable we are with climate change, rising sea levels, our own location, where we live. So we are very mindful about this while we're seeking to build and expand. You see, when we build that road, Linden to Mabura, all the way into Lethem, there's an incentive for people to move to higher ground because you have roads with access to hospitals, you have electricity, you have Wi-Fi, so you don't have to be staying in a congested area. You could move out into other areas. When we develop Regions 8 and Regions 9, people will not just go there to say mining for gold or for forestry. They will actually develop those townships and those, because that's why we have to put in resilient infrastructure that could stand all the weather patterns and all the rest of it, and at the same time link and connect the people. So we understand the importance of developing Guyana wide and far, and not just the coastline. And that's why we get our infrastructure network being expanded so wide and vast.
Thank you very much, Bishop. I now hand you over to Professor Boudou with your question or clarification.
Minister Edghill, I think the projects you have described and the monitoring of the sea defenses are fantastic. I think you and your government are doing an excellent job at that. Does the government have any publicly accessible master plan or blueprint for the under construction modern transportation system that you described, and the planned transportation system with zoning information such as residential, industrial complexes, and so on?
I would say yes, but it is being assembled into one general plan. And that's the challenge we have right now, of bringing all the pieces together from all of the various sectors and merging that into one master plan. The plans exist, but it's being merged into one master plan at this time.
But it's not publicly accessible, is it?
Not yet. From individual ministries, you can get access to what they have, but the grand master plan is being assembled.
Yeah, because if you do that, people will get a good sense of what you have described here on this program.
But you would agree with me, Professor, as a learned man, those are not things that happen in 2 and 3 years.
Well, that's why I say you're doing a fantastic job in 2 years, what you've accomplished so far. Right? Now, I've noticed you, the president, and other ministers to be regularly admonishing contractors for non-performance or poor performance on infrastructural works. Do you have project management on these works to ensure timely completion within the budget and according to design specification? If so, how these transgressions escape these inspections?
Well, the answer to that is yes, we do have project management. Contractors are partners in Guyana's development. We view every contractor as a partner for Guyana's development, whether it's a local contractor or an international contractor. You are our partner. What does that mean? The government goes out to execute. You are the person who is implementing. You're being supervised by a consultancy. You're being supervised by engineers. For every major, Professor, every major project that is being undertaken, there's what is called a supervisory consultancy that is supposed to be the eyes, ears, and everything on behalf of the government to ensure we get value for money, to ensure we get quality, and we pay for that service. Oftentimes, these consultancy services are foreign or international consultants that have to reside in Guyana and overlook these projects. So that's one layer of project management that is in place. For every project that is being implemented from the ministry, you have what is called a project engineer. Let me give you, for an example, on the Sheriff Mandela Road that was just completed when we came into government, there was a project engineer, and that project engineer would have a whole project team with him. And that team will comprise several engineers, environmental engineers, social officers, design engineers. There's a lab to do testing and all the rest of it. Whenever you see things falling apart and are allowed to fall apart, is as a result not because of systems not being in place, but because of one, complicity, or number two, just downright wickedness. And that is why we have been so stern and harsh in dealing with these matters. This is the people's money, and the people must get value for money. I have said to the engineers that are under my control at the Ministry of Public Works, I'm grateful for their expertise, their learning, and all the rest of it. But you are working for the government, not for the contractor. Your job is to ensure the government's interest is protected. And anytime I realize you're not protecting the government's interests, I will make it easy for you to work with the contractor. And you understand the
Yes.
language that I'm using there.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
So it's the same team, many of the engineers that are now performing and doing great work are the engineers that we inherited when we came to government in 2020. We have some new people, but the bulk of the people are the professional engineers that have been here. And lots of times, engineers and technical people need proper policy direction. And the success of the Irfan Ali-led administration, and I hope Dr. Tara will take this and make it into one of his brilliant articles. The success of the Irfan Ali's administration so far is clear policy direction. When people have clear policy direction, they don't have to guess, they don't have to wonder. The investments that are coming is because we have sent clear signals. The attitude of people who are working and implementing government projects is because they understand clearly what the government stands for, what we intend to do, how we intend to achieve it, clear policy direction. The participation of technical officers with ministers across the length and breadth of Guyana in the various outreaches that we're involved in is because of clear policy direction that says we are bringing development to every community in a non-discriminatory manner. And we want quality, we want things to be done quickly, the people are impatient, we have to get it done. And that's, we heard one politician saying match breaks, match breaks, match breaks. And that's because they understand the clear policy direction of the PPPC is not just really to deliver, but to deliver quickly. Things that could be done today must be done today. Bureaucracy and government bungling by technical people who go around the circuitous manner to make sure it takes the longest route before you can get a decision is not our style. Clear policy direction. Let's get the needs of the people met. Let's bring benefits to the people. Let's ensure people's lives are better. And that is the success story of the Irfan Ali-led administration.
Well, that's well said. Another question I have, they've been talking about a deep water port. Is that site selected? Do you know where is that going to be?
Yes, it's in the Berbice area off of Palmyra.
So will this service goods from Brazil or where?
No, a deep water harbor or a deep water port that we're envisaging must be able to do the following. One, it must be able to help with what is happening in oil and gas, both in Guyana and possibly Suriname. Because if we get a deep water harbor at Berbice, Suriname will not need to go and have a deep water harbor too. So that if we get ours first, we widen our scope of reach about Guyana and Suriname. That deep water harbor must be able to deal with mass cargo for export of Guyana's agricultural and other products that will develop into manufacturing into other parts of the world. But it must also be able to benefit from what we see as a low-hanging fruit of getting cargo and all the rest of it from northern Brazil, which you're talking there 20 million people. And then that's just one state. And when you go further in, Brazil of itself and all of South America. But it must also be able to land bigger cargo ships. Now, because of the draft of the Demerara River, I don't know if you're aware, ships can come into the Demerara River with their full tonnage, which means you're paying for the entire ship, but it's only carrying a certain volume, half of its capacity. When we could get a deep water harbor, and you could bring in the real huge container ships, loaded, the cost of goods to Guyana will significantly be reduced because the cost of shipping will also go down. And just let me also throw this in the work. When we're talking about a deep water harbor in Guyana as well, we must be able to have the capacity to land the 3,000 and 6,000 passenger carrying cruise ships
Yes.
in Guyana. So we're not just talking here about another facility for oil and gas we're talking about a huge development. And that's why we're talking with the best from around the world. It's no secret that we're talking with the best from around the world, whether it's the people out of the UAE or some of the biggest port developers out of the US. We're talking with everybody about a massive port development.
Okay, I just want to ask you to divert your attention now to the bridges. You said you had about 30 something plus
32
bridges
bridges.
under construction or completed.
Under construction from Kurupukari to Letem. That's continuing the road from the Kurupukari crossing into the Letem area.
Is there a plan to bridge the Esseco River by Kurupukari? Right now, you have a boat transporting vehicles.
Right now, we have a barge transporting vehicles.
Yeah, right.
But in order to make that road really feasible, it has to be a 24-hour road. And with a barge crossing, it's not 24 hours. That's just about 12 hours. So we are seriously contemplating a private-public partnership kind of a project to get a bridge across the Kurupukari River. Ultimately, somewhere along the line, we have to have a bridge to give the road a 24-hour access to traffic. So that is in the plan.
Okay. And the Ogle Airport, I've read a report that you're thinking of modernizing it, expanding it to make it international. Right now, it's confined to the Caribbean area. Can you elaborate a little on that plan or that vision?
Yes. The Ogle International Airport under the last PPPC administration was developed into what it is through a private-public partnership and support from the government and funding we got through the EU. There is now on my desk, where I'm sitting here in my office, and I think it's a good thing you asked, I have it right here, the issue about the development of the Ogle aerodrome. I could show it to you. Ogle Airport Development Plan. It's right here. This is the document. And this is going to be, it's under active discussion between the private-public partnership and the government of Guyana from the highest level. Of course, you know, this ministry is responsible. So we may have to do some relocating of some houses to be able to expand the runway, to be able to take in lots more bigger size jets, corporate jets. So we have to do some expansion and some enlargement. And we have to do new terminals, new facilities.
And I guess before you do that, you have to do a environmental impact statement as well, because the neighboring communities with bigger planes, it will create some problems, noise pollution, etc.
Everything that we do in Guyana is subject to the laws and must pass the litmus test and approval of the Environmental Protection Agency.
Mm-hmm. All right. Dr. Budu?
Mr. Edghill, the airport has always been a source of problems for the last few years. Are you happy with what you have now?
I'm much relieved at what we have now. And I can't say I'm totally satisfied, but I'm much relieved. And what we have now is not the end. Let me just let you know, we're discussing a Terminal 2. We are actively discussing a Terminal 2. Right now, all of the offices for the staff of the airline, we have just gone out in the procurement process to build a building off of the airport for admin staff. So staff don't have to be occupying space in the airport. They will have their own admin building, so that space would be freed up to do other things. All of the airlines that are operating, we are currently doing work to make sure they have their own administrative offices, which was left out when the APNU AFC remodified the arrangement with China Harbor. So that is being completed. We are now building another building to deal with all of the bonds and the holding areas for the concessionaires. You know, people who have bonded stuff that they're selling in the duty-free shops, they need to have their own storage and all the rest of it in a secure area. We're putting in facilities for that. Like I said, we are creating more space for recreation and passengers, comfort, duty-free shopping, kids area. All of these things are being put in. So I'm happy about where we are. It's much improved, but the overall plan is a real modern airport. You notice we have also put in place the curtain wall in the whole front of the airport. I don't know when last you were in Guyana and when last you saw.
Number of years ago.
But the airport is looking much nicer. And we are putting in the One Guyana wrap on the whole front of the curtain wall with the tint. So that Guyana feeling, the Guyana colors, and everything is going to be there. And like I said, with the new extension that we're able to get the Code D and Code E type aircraft landing here, that's going to be a phenomenon. That's going to be a phenomenon.
Are you discussing with other airlines than the current ones that come into Guyana?
My friend, that's an everyday exercise. Whether from Canada, whether from Europe, whether from the Middle East, excuse me, whether from India. And you know I've been aggressive on the front where these matters are concerned. But when matters are under negotiations, you don't want to talk too much to interfere with those negotiations. But we're talking with the best, the finest, and we want to be able to get Guyana as a preferred route. We must be able to get people going to South Africa. Guyana must be the preferred stop.
Yeah, you're ideally located for these.
Yes.
Yeah.
The people coming out of Africa, whether it's Ghana or Nigeria, they must be able to come here. People who are finding it difficult to get US visas when they want to do their vacation into the Caribbean must fly straight off of Amsterdam to Guyana, and then they could get into St. Lucia and all the rest of it. We are working over time to make this a reality. So yes, you could anticipate new airlines coming on board. And of course, you know, since we're in government, we already have a number of new airlines. Fly Always have just started again flying out of Guyana. They had their inaugural flight to Cuba, and we want to be able to expand that. We have Intercaribbean that has come on board since we're here as well.
I want to take you back to a common problem which I've been reading in social media. Several days I look at social media and people complain about the state of the road. I know roads were left to deteriorate under the previous administration. They never did anything significant to improve those roads, and everything was left. You got to virtually clean the mess created, and you cannot handle all at a time. But can you give us an update on the road situation? I know many roads are still impassable. Some are in very poor condition. And what steps you're taking, whether now or shortly from now, or what plans you have to rehabilitate or repair them?
The major complaints come from the schemes, the housing schemes. In housing development, the Ministry of Housing would often put in place roads to a certain level of compaction and construction to allow for people to be able to get their supplies in, build up their homes, and all the rest of it. Once those areas are developed, you need to come back with a new wave of putting in more solid roads for the commute and the rest of it. In those areas, there has been a backlog of bringing it from just the initial stage of development to the next stage of development. And what would have happened as well is that we have a practice in Guyana that must be corrected. And I repeat for emphasis, that must be corrected. Vehicles cannot continue to carry overweight. A 20-ton truck carrying 40 tons. So where do we have the problems on our roads? I could give you the example. Farm to market access roads, whether it's D-Hoop, whether it's Barry, whether it's Myconi, the paddy trucks and the millers, they put these walls on the side of the truck so you don't just pull the truck to its capacity. You can't all the way up, can't twice the capacity. The tires and the axle can't bear the load, so the weight is being transferred to the road. The miners that are moving in the interior roads, the same thing. And then we have in the communities where housing development is still taking place, the trucks, so they have a truckload of sand, then they put 2 truckloads of cement on top of that, then they put the steel, and it's too much for the weight. So weight control is something that we will have to deal with at some time. Community roads are not built at the same specification of highways and superhighways. All of you know in North America, container trucks cannot go through local communities. Am I correct? You have to park that container sometime, and you move from containers to canters. At the Demerara Harbor Bridge, we've had to enforce weight restrictions to 18 tons because some of the trucks with 35, 40 tons, they are breaking things as they pass. So we've had to put in weight restrictions. The Borby's Bridge, we've had to put in weight restrictions. With the new bridge that we're building, because of it's going to be a high-span concrete bridge that will be built to AASHTO standards, that will allow huge amount of tonnage. So that is a challenge we have. Fixing community roads and the continual use of trucks, particularly where development activities are taking place on community roads. Community roads cannot bear that kind of overweight that is taking place. So you'll find that once you fix a road now, 2-3 years, you got to go back. The shoulder is broken because the community roads are not broad like these superhighways. And a truck that tries to make a turn and break the edge of the road, water starts to seep in, a pothole develops, then it deteriorates. So, but I'm sure you'll be happy to know that since we got into office, 2020, 2021, and what is happening in 2022, we would have fixed more than 1,000 roads in Guyana.
Okay, thank you very much, Bishop. I just want the public to know that prior to his becoming a senior minister in government, Bishop Edghill used to work with us in our humanitarian project targeting needy communities with food hampers, etc. He's, I don't know if you can remember, you went to Wales, you went to Enmore and a few other places with us. And so he has a good humanitarian background as well. I now hand you over to our host, Shamiz Ali, who will do the closing remarks and probably ask you to make your concluding remarks. Shamiza.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tara. Thank you, Professor Budu. Minister Edghill, if you can please go ahead and give us your concluding remarks for this evening.
Well, thank you, first of all, for allowing me the opportunity to be on this program, the Guyana Dialogue, to share with the people here in Guyana and with the diaspora what is happening. We're not perfect, but we are good for Guyana. That is what I would want to say to all the people listening. The PPPC government, President Irfan Ali and all of us in his cabinet, don't judge us out of the the school of perfection. Judge us based upon what we would have done for Guyana since we are in office in the last 2 years. We are good for Guyana. We are doing good for Guyana. And secondly, I want to give the assurance to all those who are confused. Today I came out of Buxton. We are bringing development to Guyana in a non-discriminatory manner. The noises of the opposition is to create that facade that nothing is happening. It's hollow. It has no traction on the ground. My colleague, Minister Zulfikar Mustafa, I hope you should get him on the Guyana Dialogue sometime, is one of our hard-working ministers. I respect his energy and his intervention. Is in every community where farming is taking place, no matter who lives there, the ethnicity of the people, ensuring development. All of my colleagues in the cabinet, they are out there, whether it's Minister Nandalal, the Attorney General, ensuring land rights are protected for all the people of Guyana, Minister Onage with the business grants. And of course, I could go on naming every minister, whether it's social services or education or health. We are good for Guyana. Everything have not happened the way we anticipated perfectly for it to happen. But the only person who never got burnt in the kitchen is the one who never cooked. Right, Shamiza? Once
That is
burnt.
Oh, wow, perfectly said. Perfectly
And I
said.
will tell the guys,
I have a few burns that I can
even if
definitely.
it's the roti or the roti pan, you gotta give some more sugar. And the,
Those are the best.
and the only people who never fell off of a cycle are the ones who never ride. Once you're riding a cycle, sometime or the other you fall.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're doing something, mistakes are made. But you know what I can tell you about us? We don't hide our mistakes. We admit our mistakes and we learn from our mistakes. And we improve on our mistakes. And while we may have made a few mistakes, think about the multitude of good things that have happened for Guyana. We have made cost of living more affordable for the people of Guyana by removing all of those hardship measures. The people who are complaining right now about how things are hard in Guyana, I want them to contemplate having to still do that with the 200 plus hardship measures that was imposed by the AP and UAFC. What it would have been like if the PPPC in its first budget did not remove those 200 plus hardship taxes and fines and fees that were imposed on the people of Guyana. Think about the children that are now benefiting from their cash grant. Sometime next week, parents will be lining up across the country. Think about the farmers that are benefiting from fertilizer assistance. Think of the people in the hinterland who it's more expensive for them to get supplies because of the cost of transportation, who are getting their riverine and hinterland grants to help with cost of living. What it would have been like for them if it was not a PPPC government that was doing things to help the people, where they had to deal with the AP and UAFC that was imposing hardships on the people. We are good for Guyana. We haven't done everything perfect, but that's the message that I want to get across. We remain open. We will always be guided. And like my president would always say, we will remain humble in serving the people of Guyana. Thank you for the opportunity of being on with you tonight.
Pleasure. Certainly humble. We heard from Bishop Edghill this evening, someone who has experience, knowledge, and a very good understanding of what is needed to get Guyana into a new modern Guyana. He spoke of his vision of linking Guyana to the Caribbean through aviation. He spoke about the clear policy, and Guyana's success is success for all our Caribbean brothers and sisters. Tonight, it is more clear than ever that Guyana is moving forward. And I know every week we're here on the Guyana Dialogue, we speak of how Guyana is moving forward. But tonight, more than ever, we are sure about the progress Guyana has, and we are moving forward as one Guyana. Thank you so much to each and every one of you, to our viewers. Thank you very much for being here this evening, for taking the time to be here. And please continue to share the Guyana Dialogue with your friends and family. Good evening to everyone.
Good
Take care.
evening.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Professor Buru, I'll talk to you later.
Yes.
And Bishop, we'll have you